11, 12 subject matter is maybe we should say student-teacher relationship. Of course, in terms of classical presentation, Lamrim Nyamgurma, for example, talks about the 10 qualities of the teacher and the 10 qualities of student. Those things you can learn from Lamrim, but I just want to say a few words about these qualities and why they listed this way and so forth. And then we can really delve into the modern applications and the significance of so-called guru devotions or student-teacher relationship subject, which is quite a nuanced and also thought-provoking subject, I think, and something we want to discuss instead of avoiding or waiting until the last minute after we dive into Tantra, then oops, I haven't thought about guru devotion, what that means, not like that. So this is the first subject, right? You can see this is the Tantra, beginning of Tantra. We are already entering into the Tantra. We are into the Tantric journey. Tantric journey is advanced version of Mahayana. This is the kind of beginning of that. It's good to review if you study before. That's great, but we want to come back again and again. And over time, this understanding or experiential understanding of student-teacher relationship mature. And also your understanding reflect on this kind of relationship as well. And you can benefit from this understanding and actions. Of course, this is a big subject, right? First of all, I just want to say I haven't have any of the 10 qualities, so I'm completely disqualified. But I'm saying here, this is the classical presentations when we are looking for a teacher in terms of spiritual journeys. Because these are the student teachers, lamas, they're called teachers, and the students are expected to possess specific qualities to ensure proper transmissions of the Dharma and the spiritual progress. So that's kind of traditional way to say it. In Lamrim, it is emphasized, first of all, that student-teacher relationship is sacred and essential for progress. And a student must carefully examine a teacher before making a commitment, just as a teacher must evaluate a student's sincerity before accepting them. This mutual responsibility ensures authentic transmission and the realization of the Dharma. It's something very threatening. No. But just let me say a few words about the qualities, at least some qualities we want to have as a teacher. If we want to learn something from teacher, first of all, teacher should have a loving kindness and compassion, at least, not evil person. Compassion, perhaps the most important quality of all among 10. That's how I feel. If a teacher doesn't have a compassion and kindness, it's very difficult to learn something. Although teacher may have a knowledge, vast knowledge, which is great. Just let me list up 10. So that those of you who haven't gone through have an imprint in your head. Disciplined, which means moral ethics, number 1. Then calm mind, serene, number 2. And pacified means freedom from delusions. So-called afflicted emotions, teacher should have at least toward that direction, eliminating, overcoming gross mental afflictions such as attachment and anger and ignorance. Then, of course, knowledge. It's better to have more knowledge than ourselves. Like teacher should have a hopefully vast knowledge in the scriptures, especially the stage of the path and understanding a sutra and tantra, and like overview. Of course, in a mundane, common world, teacher have a very specialized area, right? Knowledge in something, but the Dharma teacher should have a kind of overall vast knowledge and balanced Tantra and Sutra. Then insightful, in other words, wisdom, should have a wisdom of reality. The deep realization, ideally, realization of emptiness and the nature of reality. This is we are talking about ideal. But this is very important, at least a glimpse into emptiness. In Gero tradition, we talk about the generic image of emptiness, at least that one, through all the Madhyamika analysis and so forth. Then sit and meditate. First thing we come to realize is called generic form. Then eventually direct realization. But at least that process, it's very important. Then number 6 is eloquent, able to teach well, without accent. Communicate very well with students. And skillful. Some teachers are very skillful, no? Skilled and very eloquent, not like me at all. So somebody who are really able to communicate and explain the Dharma clearly, according to the student's level. For example, His Holiness, a good example. His Holiness said one sentence, then everybody, all the advanced students or scholars, or the nomad just came out of Tibet or something like that, both can understand, receive the meaning of it. So something like that. And also his word, one single word he uttered and not wasted. Everything has a meaning, something like that. That's called eloquent. Then, of course, number 7 is loving kindness and compassion, and genuinely care for their students and guide them with a compassionate heart. Number 8 is interesting, fearlessness. Fearlessness in teaching. No shyness, you can say. They should not hesitate to point out mistakes, for example, oneself and the students, or guide the students toward the right path. Number 9 is patient and tolerant. Have to be very patient. Good teacher, endure the difficulties and guide the student without being discouraged by their faults. Yeah, all the Tibetan teachers I met, they are so patient. Come to think about it, when I remember those days, how patient they are. They never scold, and it's amazing. Okay, so then they, of course, patient and tolerant. And the last one is not motivated by personal gain, perhaps fame, or, try to get the big crowds and a big follower or something like that, or these wrong motivations. So that's a teacher. Then the students also. All of us are students. Yes, of course, students to receive teachings effectively and progress on the path. We should embody these key qualities. Again, 10 qualities. The first one, what do you think? Open-heartedness, sincerity, honesty. That's very important, right? Free from judgment or prejudice. Yeah, sometimes come to teaching with this kind of attitude doesn't help. And the students should not be overly skeptical. Of course, we're going to go into more in terms of modern context. We are really bound by the skepticism and all these prejudice, bias, and the doubt, and those sort of things. But when we come to the teaching, we need to let go of those things. But of course, we're going to talk about more doubt and those things after this. I'm just listing up. So that otherwise we cannot learn something. Right? We should be open to learning. Second is intelligent. This particular intelligence is not intellectual intelligence, more like a discerning wisdom. We should have an ability to analyze the teachings critically and not follow blindly. So able to discern between what's right and what's wrong. There was a story about this Tibetan teacher. So Tibetan teacher got old, and then 3 disciples were there. Then he wanted to decide who's gonna inherit the teacher's position. He wanted to test. Then he said to the 3 students, go out and steal whatever you can steal and bring it here. And then we will decide who will inherit my position, or something like that. Can you guess? So everybody went there, and the first 2 students stole all these horses or jewelries and whatever, Then third one didn't bring anything. Then what happened? What do you think? Yeah, of course, the third one got the praise from teachers. You stupid. I always tell you to follow the ethical common sense, ethical disciplines. Regardless, I say so, you should not have done that. So the third one's really followed my, regular teachings from the heart. So he understood something like that. So anyway, so discerning wisdom is very important. Then eager to learn, that's number 3. Sincere interest. I think most of you are here. Sincere interest. That's why you are here. We should be enthusiastic about studying, practicing Dharma, and also pick and choose kind of thing in a modern context. Not so good. This is easy for me. That's why I'm gonna do this. Anyway, so that's number 3. Then number 4 is respectful. Yeah, we know that one. Respectful, faith in the teacher and the Dharma. Students should respect their teacher, of course, and the teachings, while also engaging in reasoning and discerning wisdom. My point is respect even the representation of the teaching. For example, this is Lama Tsongkhapa's book. This contains the Lama Tsongkhapa's realization. So Dharma refuge is the main refuge we need to go. So in that sense, if we view that way, naturally we respect. And number 5 is the diligent perseverance in practice. Don't you think we need diligence? We need to persevere. It's not like one day study, next day got the light bulb. And so study, contemplation, meditation, those things. I think in the West we need to do those things with joyful heart. Yeah, if somebody force you to do, I don't think we're gonna do it. Even I don't like to have somebody tell me what to do. We need to be able to persevere with joyful heart. Then, of course, number 6 is ethical conduct, moral integrities. That's one of the most important things. This common sense. Buddha's teaching is do not harm. Do good, don't do harm. That's the basic bottom line of Dharma, Buddha's teaching. So we need to follow that. Regardless of how advanced practice we practice, ethics is essential to receive and retain teachings properly. Number 7 is receptive and humble. They should avoid arrogance and be willing to be collected and guided. This is obvious, right? Then number 8 is gratitude, appreciation for the Dharma. This is very important. We're going to talk more about that when we get into the main subject. But to always maintain this appreciation for Dharma, also for the opportunity that we have, these fortunate conditions, and recognize the precious opportunities of receiving teaching inspires deep commitment. So both commitment, responsibility, and gratitude and the recognition of the opportunity both go together. And number 9, courageous, endurance in hardship. We need courage. The path to enlightenment requires perseverance, especially when facing difficulties. Did you guys notice when we started to practice Dharma, difficulty falls onto us like a rain? That's the thing. In that sort of situation, we have to have this one, willing to endure hardship, adversity, and facing difficulty. So we have to be fearless and courageous. We don't come to the teaching or tread this kind of journey for the comfort. Of course, by now, you guys have noticed. I noticed definitely. Yeah, facing difficulties as opportunities. We have to transform everything as a manure, advantage or medicine for this journey. Finally, 10, strong determination, commitment to the path. A true student does not merely collect knowledge, but strives to integrate the teaching into their life. So that's just a list up.